Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor, and our expert, non-expert and special guest James, Lord High Commander of the Science Cupboard, and first of his name and knower of nothing. I always knew that you knew nothing, James.
Has that gotten longer?
It feels like it.
It's just saying it's slower. So as always we're wearing togas and today we're going to look at the story of Aeneas.
So, what was that bloke's name?
Aeneas.
So, you said last time that Levy's writing about 700 years before. So, we're in, 700 BC at this point?
Not quite, no, I'm afraid not.
It's never easy.
So, the story of the foundations of Rome actually starts in Troy in about 1200 BC.
Okay, so I was only 500 years off.
Yeah, that 500 years doesn't matter.
Wrong country.
Yeah.
Shut up.
That's why it's called the knower of nothing.
I'm going to do a science podcast once and just flatten both of you.
So what's more, the story is recorded as an epic poem by a Roman called Virgil. I'm going to talk a bit more about him.
Yeah, Virgil, he's a Roman poet. He's very popular at the time. He writes this massive epic about Aeneas. Round about the same time as Livy,
Okay.
so they are close to each other.
But what's also quite important about Virgil, and we will talk about this in a little bit more detail, is he's one of the people that's kind of a key writer for Augustus.
Yeah.
So he's asked to write things by Augustus.
Right,
so a lot of the poetry that Virgil writes is very pro-Augustan.
It's got an agenda to it.
Yeah,
very much so.
Anyway, back to the story of Aeneas. So according to the story, we're in Troy, and Paris, who is the younger son of the king of Troy, a guy called Priam, he's been called to judge a beauty contest.
Cool. Always a good job.
Yeah.
Ancient Miss World.
Yeah, and there are 3 contenders.
So, we've got Juno, the queen of the gods, who is also the wife of Jupiter.
We've got Minerva, the goddess of wisdom.
And we've got Venus, the goddess of love.
Okay, so tough call, man.
Yeah, he has to pick a winner, and to decide who is the winner, he's got to give them a golden apple. That's what you win.
This is all sounding like the nonsense I thought it would be. From what we've talked about in the past, gods are quite petty.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume this goes really well picking which one's the prettiest.
I don't understand why you'd have that kind of thought process, James. So having to choose...
obviously as a woke man, objectifying women is reprehensible to me.
Good answer, good answer. So having to choose one of 3 infinitely powerful and vengeful goddesses, clearly that's just going to go well.
It's not going to go well, is it?
So I'm sure the others will be incredibly forgiving if they don't get picked as the most beautiful, don't you think?
Yeah. They'll just go, oh, fair play.
It's
and
fine,
walk
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Well, they're not.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So Paris chooses Venus because she promises him, as if he picks her, that she will give him the most beautiful woman in the world.
So we already started off by objectifying women, and then we're just giving a woman away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the most beautiful woman in the world at that time is notoriously Helen of Sparta, who is soon to become Helen of Troy.
Okay.
So Juno, queen of the gods, is she's a bit miffed at this decision that Paris has chosen her own daughter over her.
Yeah, so it gets better. So it's not only that she's been chosen and she's annoyed because this other woman's been chosen, she's also even more annoyed because it's actually her daughter that's been chosen.
Right, yeah.
In place of her. Yeah. So in revenge, Juno curses the Trojans and swears to wipe them from the earth. It's quite extreme. She's not pleased.
Moderate reaction.
It's probably not the point, but what was the point of this beauty contest? They just decided to find out.
They were bored. It was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So to help her to do this, she pops over to Greece and has a word with Agamemnon, who is the most powerful of the Greek kings.
Okay. What city-state is he in charge
He's
of?
from Mycenae.
Okay.
So her timing is impeccable because Paris has just run off with Helen of Sparta, who is currently married to Agamemnon's brother, Menelaus.
God, this is a mess. Okay.
He's like ancient Jeremy Kyle.
Okay, yeah. That.
and then some.
And then some, yeah.
So you've.
Basically, Paris and his brother are sent to Greece on a diplomatic mission, and he ends up running off with the King of Sparta's wife.
So.
Not great diplomacy.
So Venus doesn't at any point go, no, I've actually promised her to him, so hand her over. He just has to go kidnap his prize.
Well, she's arranged it.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't just go over and like club her over the head and drag her off.
Yeah, because that would be ridiculous.
Yeah. No. Far more sensible to have a goddess arrange this random meeting. So, with Juno's help, the Greeks launch 1,000 ships towards Troy, filled with soldiers who are ready and off to go do some smiting.
I've heard this before.
Yeah, so it's basically a Roman rewrite of Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, but more about that later. You just need to sit back, James, and enjoy the story.
Okay.
So, with the Greeks rampaging all over Troy and getting in everyone's business and causing a mess, it's pretty much game over for the Trojans. And it's at this point that a young, brave Trojan warrior called Aeneas is visited by Venus, the winner of the beauty contest, and coincidentally, it's also his mum.
Okay, so
He's
he was asked to judge a beauty contest, and his mum was one of the contestants.
No, Paris
No,
had to
Paris.
judge the
Oh,
beauty
Paris
contest.
did, excuse
Aeneas
me.
is some random Trojan warrior whose mum happens to be the
just happens to be a
goddess.
It
goddess.
brings a whole new dimension, doesn't it, to that insult that's levelled in schools across the land, which is quite simply, your mum!
Your mum, yeah.
Is a goddess, thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of mums going on in this particular
is.
story. A lot of angry women, a lot of them are mums.
Yeah, a lot of angry women are mums.
Yeah, I can vouch for that one. So,
Moving on.
she's basically swung it so that Aeneas, his family, and his dad, who they should all basically be thanking right now, and some of his fellow soldiers can flee Troy.
Okay.
So they can get out of Troy and they can escape. We should point out at this point, however, there are different accounts which suggest Aeneas is allowed to leave because of his valour and nobility.
But that's much less interesting. This version is far funnier.
Yeah.
Allowed to leave by the 1,000 chips.
Yeah.
Or, okay, not the rest of the Trojans going, no, you're better than all of us. You leave, we'll stay and get murdered.
It's far more believable that this goddess, who's his mum,
Yeah.
pays a visit to his dad for old time's sake and
Yeah.
says, yeah, you just, off you go, off you pop.
Seems reasonable.
So, with Venus's help, Aeneas and his friends and family board the ships and leg it.
Although it does seem somewhere in all of the fleeing, Aeneas' wife gets lost and left behind.
Okay.
I mean, that is being a bad husband if you can't even kind of remember to take your wife with you. I don't realise when she's just disappeared and you're like, well, I wasn't that keen on her anyway, I want another one.
Bit of a Home Alone, you get there. Am I forgetting something? I think lock the door.
Oh. I mean, to be fair, I mean, if
Left
you
me
look
wife.
at the kind of classic image of Aeneas, he's carrying his dad and dragging along her son.
So he's got another shoulder. He could carry his wife on the other one.
I'm going to say, if my husband just left me somewhere randomly when there was a war going on,
You'd find
and his
him.
response
You'd find
was,
him and hurt
oh
him.
yeah, but I remembered my son, I'd be like, yeah, good. Your son can't beat you up, I can. If I found him, be dead.
We should point out that at no point has Helen ever hit her husband.
Not where it leaves marks.
She's not helping herself in. So, wifeless, but with his dad and his son and his men and a little shrine that his dad brings with him, they head out onto the open seas and sail around the Greek islands looking for a new home.
This again is sounding very familiar.
Quite new. No one said Roman rip-off of Homer's Odyssey.
But wherever they go, they are attacked by Greek soldiers and monsters. They're back. The gods and used car salesmen. You didn't know they had them in ancient Rome, did you?
What?
Not used car salesmen, sorry.
Yeah,
We got
they're
carried
just
away.
attacked by everything ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You name it, it goes for them.
Okay.
So, after a suitably vague amount of time, we don't actually know how long, Aeneas and his merry band of men land in Carthage.
Where's that?
So it's kind of North Africa, kind of modern day Libya.
Okay.
It was a big major city just opposite Sicily at the time. And being the fancy kind of guy Aeneas is, he's brought to see the Queen of Carthage, a woman called Dido.
Which is a big mistake. And also, it's not Dido from the 90s that had hits with Eminem. Just point that out.
Clearly
It's not the same one. So Dido as Aeneas is kind of so awesome, falls instantly in love with him.
Aww.
And since he's already lost his wife, highly convenient, he's not unhappy with this situation. So he quite likes the fact that Dido took a bit of a shine to him.
There's worse things that can happen.
There are. Is the fact that she's a queen a bit of a turn on for him?
Well, yeah, I would say that that's quite a selling point, wouldn't you?
Because I'm assuming that's as unusual as it is in ancient history, having a female monarch.
Well, it'd be nice if it was that progressive, but unfortunately it's not. Dido's queen because she's married to the king of Carthage.
Ah, cool.
But obviously, with all this going on, the king of Carthage starts to catch wind of these rumours about his wife and Aeneas.
And he goes, "It's fine, take my wife."
Well, you've lost yours. I mean, you've got to have a wife.
Have mine. I've had enough of her anyway. I'll get a new one.
Clearly not the case.
So handily, it's around this time when the gods send Aeneas a messenger telling him that the reason he is being spared, and basically whilst the rest of the Trojans have been wiped out, it's his destiny to travel to a new land and begin a great civilization.
Okay.
And he's not going to get that done in Carthage.
Okay. But all the gods clearly weren't told this because some of them are trying to kill him.
Yeah, the gods they're never on the same page, really. So either to do his duty or to avoid an awkward situation with the king of Carthage, Aeneas and his men get back on the ships and scooch off over the sea.
However, needless to say, Dido is not happy about this and doesn't take it well.
No.
Okay. She wouldn't, would she?
No.
Well, she swears eternal war on Aeneas and all of his descendants before impaling herself on a sword and falling dead.
You know what they say about a woman scorned?
What? She's going to kill herself?
Well, no, I mean, it's more the bit before that where
Yeah,
she basically
but she's sworn
says
into what?
you're dead and all of it.
Eternal
Yeah.
vengeance. How is she going to enact that vengeance if she immediately kills herself?
What do you think she's going to use?
Go
Well,
on.
nothing, because she's dead now.
Yeah, she can't do anything. She snuffed it.
She might have had a word with the gods beforehand.
Well, I think the idea is that the people of Carthage will be so upset that she's just done herself in. They're like, "Oh, Aeneas, you mug."
Okay.
You're still not convinced, though, are you?
I'm really not convinced. If I'd be less inclined to listen to someone's final words if they immediately jumped onto a spike. Go get Aeneas! No.
That just sounds like they did to Trump, actually.
Well, go on. Okay, what sound do you think someone impaling themselves on a spike sounds like?
So,
Sorry, I missed the scream. That's it.
so before we get too far off the point, Aeneas gone, Dido dead.
Okay. So this isn't really turned out to be hugely successful, this little jaunt, is it?
Not really, no. But after Carthage, next stop is Sicily.
I've never been to Sicily. It looks nice, though.
Yeah.
So when Aeneas and his men arrive, they are greeted warmly by the king.
Okay, cool.
Nice. But obviously, Juno is still having none of this happy families lark, and she persuades the women on the island to burn the Trojan ships.
Which they start to do.
How often in these stories do the gods just calm down and leave things alone?
Never.
Right, okay.
Never. So Aeneas and his men stop them before all the ships are destroyed. But in the process, Aeneas' dad Anchises dies.
Oh, alright.
Not good. So he's lost his wife.
Well, he literally lost his wife.
His dad's now dead.
His
So-
girlfriend's dead as well.
Yeah.
Did
and
he-
also has pledged eternal vengeance.
Yeah. wasn't a
Did
good
his
breakup.
dad die on his shoulder or did he eventually put him down?
Eventually put him down.
Okay.
So he decides not to stay in Sicily.
I can't imagine why.
I was going to say he's not really had a warm reception as it's turned a
He
bit
has.
frosty.
It's been
Well, he
really
has,
warm.
but he's turned a bit
All those
frosty.
burning ships,
No.
nice and warm.
So Aeneas and his men set sail again, but they leave the old and the weak behind.
Where's he collected all these people from then?
They're the ones that have come with him. They've just When they were fleeing Troy, they're just like, yeah, get on.
So it wasn't literally you lot can go. Some others jumped on ship as well.
I guess so, yeah.
Right, okay.
I'm also a bit more concerned with the fact he's supposed to be seen as like the hero of Rome, but he basically just bins off anyone who's old or weak.
Or married
Not
to
that
him.
much of a great hero, is he? He's just like, oh yeah, you can do it, I'm not taking you.
Maybe they're tired. I mean, there's worse places to be than Sicily.
Well,
And they have run out of, they've got fewer ships now because, fire.
that's probably
Yeah, because the people that he's leaving him with have decided to set fire to all the ships.
I was about
What are
to
they going to do
say.
to the people that are left behind? Use them for firewood as well.
just
I'm sure they just spend the time sitting about in Sicily enjoying the weather.
I'm sure it
Yeah,
goes
whatever.
great for them.
I can't go. To be fair though, if you're sticking with Aeneas, it's not going great for him, is it? Sure,
No.
if you were one of these older, weak people who are like, do you know what? Yeah, you carry on. I'm going to stay here and just
With
enjoy
the
myself.
people who just burned my ship.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Okay. So he seems to be like making his way west to
Yep.
Italy. Is that actually where he ends up?
Yeah, so next up on Aeneas' little trip is the town of Cumae, which is near modern-day Naples.
Oh, okay. I've been down there.
Yeah.
So when he's there, Aeneas meets Sibyl, who is an oracle.
Okay. Oracles always come out well in these stories.
Yeah. So,
I presume she just tells nonsense that's meant to be the future.
well, kind of.
Yeah.
But this one has a slightly different spin on things. So she offers to take Aeneas to the Underworld.
Is that a place you can go?
Apparently,
Well,
It's just like a day trip.
if you've got an oracle to get you in, then yeah, must be.
Just like a day pass sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. She doesn't like. It's not like I'll take you to the world. Knife. It's
No.
actually a place you can walk to.
Well, not really, but she seems to think she can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she also tells Aeneas that when he's there, he'll be able to see his dead dad again, and they will come back with great wisdom and treasure.
Okay. What was his dad renowned for being wise or rich? Or is
No,
it
but
just...
he's now renowned for being dead.
Well, yeah.
it's like, no, your dad's dead. You can see him again.
So they head into a cave and begin their arduous journey to the Underworld, encountering all manner of demons, monsters, venture capitalists, and other evils that blight humanity.
Okay.
Again, we may have exaggerated the venture capitalists bit, but you get the idea. So when they get to the Underworld, Aeneas finds his dead dad and Anchises.
Okay. So does he not bother talking to anyone else? Like, he's well, I'm going to assume the wife he lost died, Dido, or any of these old people left on Sicily who are definitely dead as well.
They're definitely dead, and
Probably. He
Yeah.
might do.
I mean, it would be a bit awkward, Hi, Dido.
Any
Yeah.
chance you can stop all these people coming after me?
Yeah, he certainly...
Also, having to explain to his wife who Dido is.
Yeah.
That was her fault for getting lost.
You know when I left you and basically just couldn't have been bothered coming back to try and find you. Well, the next place that I went to, I basically nicked somebody else's wife and started
Hey,
having a
both there now,
relationship
so-
with them. And I mean, how are you getting on? Do you want to make friends and share some
Probably not.
stories? Maybe
Anyway,
not.
moving on.
So, dead exes aside, Anchises gathers Aeneas and pretty much anyone who will listen and begins filling Aeneas in on his future.
Okay.
So he tells Aeneas that he must continue his journey to Italy, where when he's there he must mix his stock, Virgil's words, not mine, with the locals.
That's a really romantic.
That is. that's
Destiny.
That's more gross than just saying what you actually mean.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
Virgil. So once they must mix his stock with the locals, and their offspring from this mixing will be the Romans. And he goes on to name check various kings and leaders until we get to a description of the actual founding of the city.
Okay.
And we've got a little bit of Virgil.
Does he use the name Romans? Because
Yeah.
I think I know where that name comes from.
Yeah,
Okay.
just use the word Romans. There we go.
And Romulus will add himself as a companion to his grandfather. Do you see the double crest that stands upon his head, and how the father of the gods stamps him with his own majesty? Behold him, my son. Rome herself, with all her power, will be founded under his auspices, including all her lands, and she will raise her spirits to Mount Olympus, and she will enclose 7 citadels within her one city wall.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. See this place, Rome, that you're going to have something to do with? It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be alright.
Keep going, son. Keep going. But he doesn't stop there.
Why would it?
Well, exactly. He then continues with...
Now turn your eyes on this. Look at this family of yours, the Romans. Here is Caesar and all the offspring of Lullus, who will come beneath the high vault of heaven. Here is the man, here he is, he whom you have often heard promised to you, Augustus Caesar, son of a god. He will bring back the golden age till Latium, through the fields once ruled by Saturn.
That oddly specific.
Well spot, yes, indeed.
I was going to say, you couldn't get a much more
Pointing. Yeah.
obvious example of someone writing themselves into history, could you?
Yeah.
As a piece of propaganda.
No, it's a really obvious bit of pro-Augustan propaganda. It would be like Boris Johnson appearing in a new Harry Potter movie, saving the day at the end, which would not end well. But it's what we were saying earlier about Augustus using people like Virgil to bolster his own position, and this is how he's done it. He's just had him written into this epic poem.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to remember, I mean, that Augustus is the first emperor, which, you know, is obviously kind of further on. But Augustus is the first emperor of Rome, and it's a completely new form of government. So he's got to justify his position and kind of legalise his position, but also stamp it into the minds of the people that it's fine that it's one person with complete power, because
Like he says,
this
he's
was
the son of a god.
destined
Right,
to
okay.
be the case. And he's not only that, it's setting up the whole of kind of the Caesarian family and then Julio-Claudian family tree to be the people that are going to rule Rome. Hopefully indefinitely, but obviously that doesn't quite
work out
happen.
well. No.
But they're putting themselves into history.
Yeah, in a way that they're ordained to do that.
It's like the Department for Education releasing a school kind of history book, which basically says that someone found something in the medieval period, which basically had Boris Johnson's name on it, and said that he was going to be at one point a
Destined to
great
be.
ruler of Britain.
Yeah. Let's move on. So, long story short, his dad's message is, keep on going, son. Keep going till he gets at Tiber. Don't forget, in the future, Augustus and the Romans are going to be awesome.
Okay.
So with that, Aeneas bids his ghost dad farewell, gets back on his ship and continues to sail north until he reaches the Tiber like a good boy,
Like
doing
he's told
what
to
his
do.
dad
Yeah.
told him to do. Yes.
So he gets up to the Tiber, and what's he do then?
Well, the region around the Tiber is ruled by a king called Latinus. He receives an omen that his daughter Lavinia should marry a foreigner.
This is,
Can
again,
you
all
see where
very...
this is going?
I can see where it's going, but it's all, again, very vision, destiny-based, isn't it?
Yeah. So Latinus meets Aeneas and his Trojan men, warmly kind of welcomes them in. Lavinia and Aeneas are married. Presumably are the other Trojans also to other local women.
So this is the
Mixing
mixing of
their
stock.
Mixing of
Yeah.
the stock, yes.
So, Aeneas and Lavinia, they duly have a son who they call Ascanius or Lullus. He has two names, because why wouldn't you? Who is then, he's supposed to be this direct ancestor of the Julio-Claudian family.
Okay.
So,
Handy.
very handy.
So they're, again, just like this line back further legitimising them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But, so Aeneas is now there. He's married to
Lavinia.
Lavinia. He's essentially king, I guess.
He's in.
In waiting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of.
Okay, but he's married. He's married into
he's married
power.
well. Yeah,
How's Juno feeling about all this? Because she's still after him, isn't she?
yeah, she absolutely is. She's not got bored and carried on to something else. Juno then stirs up another local king, Turnus, who's king of the Rutulians, who was also supposed to marry Lavinia. And he's obviously just cottoned on that that's not happening anymore.
You've stolen my should-be
It
wife.
all comes down, doesn't it, to these men basically fighting over who they think should be their wife.
Yeah, I mean
That's
but
pretty
Turnus,
much what it is.
He's not the quickest out of the mark either, is he? Though, because they've had a kid
Yeah.
together, so he's like at least 9 months have passed. He's gone. Hang on a minute. Isn't that,
I
what?
thought you'd just eaten too much, love. I didn't realise you'd had a kid with somebody else. So anyway, Turnus finally cottons on that, all right, yeah, maybe she doesn't want to marry me then. Maybe she's found somebody else. He obviously gets angry, gathers his army together and prepares for a war.
You would do, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Although this just shows how stupid men are. If one leaves his wife behind, the other one doesn't realise when the person he's supposed to be marrying is not only with somebody else but has also produced their offspring.
Well, I mean, Aeneas is looking less and less of a good catch if you're the video. He's not got a good track record with women, has he?
Well, I was also
It's a
wondering.
bit of a dog, isn't he?
Who's the king of
Turnus.
Yeah.
Or Latinus.
Latinus? Is he not having second thoughts as well? Just like, oh, this guy turned up. It was great. I married my daughter, and he's immediately started a war.
Well, yeah, but what's done is done, I guess.
So they're all going to throw down for a big fight now.
All right, warmonger. That's all you're interested in, isn't it?
Well,
Not quite yet.
how often does your subject just degenerate to they had a big fight?
Yeah, all right.
All right. So basically, fearing the oncoming war, Aeneas decides he's going to nip out for a bit from his camp and away from his men.
Is he doing a runner?
Not quite, no. So he's just nipped off. People are obviously fine with that. It's like, oh, it's a war, fine. He's off to find a Greek exile in the region who's called Evander, who apparently is a great warrior whose mum can see the future, which is handy. And he's a wise man in order to try and secure an alliance with him.
Just him, or does he have other
But
people?
he has
with
other
him?
men as well,
Yeah.
so he's like a local king. Whilst he's there, though, Evander tells Aeneas the story of Hercules and Hercules' journey to the Tiber.
Yeah, and Venus also pops by to this little gathering and leaves Aeneas a lovely shield. And on the shield, Vulcan, the god of fire, has engraved the foundation of the city. So Romulus and Remus and the wolf and the future victories of the Romans.
There's massive spoiler on the shield.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's basically like a storybook but on a shield.
Okay.
So feeling quite happy about this. He's obviously kind of a bit upbeat now.
Got a fancy new
Got
shield.
a fancy new shield. He says everything's going to be okay.
Mummy gave me a shield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aeneas head back to his camp with his new shiny shield.
Just to prove to everyone that he's not just done a run. It's like, no, honestly, it was a legit reason. Look at the shield. So when Aeneas does reach his camp, however, he sees that Turnus and the Rutulians have already started their attack.
Aww.
I know. And that Latinus has been killed in the battle.
Aww.
And the Latins and Trojans eventually they hold off the Rutulians long enough, and Aeneas is made king of the Latins.
But Turnus challenges him to a single combat. After a lengthy fight and a vicious fight as well,
Involving gods.
obviously.
They what? Spectating or they joining?
They're joining in. Well,
Oh.
helping out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Aeneas manages to spear Turnus in the leg. Turnus tricks Aeneas by pleading for an end to the fight whilst hiding a dagger. And although Aeneas spots this trick, it's too late. So Turnus stabs him, and Aeneas in turn kills Turnus with his own sword.
Okay.
So Aeneas finally dies heroically of his wound, thus ending his Odyssey. Epic voyage, not Odyssey. So after all that, obviously the question then we've got to look at is why is Aeneas important to the Romans? And the first thing we've got to say is that Aeneas gives the Romans this great backstory. Everyone likes to link themselves back to something awesome, and the Siege of Troy and the story of Troy is a really well-known event in the ancient world, and they want to be part of it as well.
Okay.
You know, they're not happy just saying, "Oh, we're not just hanging around in Italy while you lot are doing all this cool stuff." We were part there as well. Also, the fact that Aeneas is semi-divine, he's the son of Venus, it also means that all later Romans are also descended from the gods.
Once they've mixed the stuff.
Once they've mixed that stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it kind of creates, doesn't it, this kind of popular culture where the Romans, they've now got their own kind of epic, like you say, tale, backstory, version of kind of the Odyssey that they can claim for their own. So it's basically them starting to say, well, we know that obviously the Greeks have got their heritage and stuff, but we've also got ours.
That we didn't at all nick.
Yeah, and ours is kind of just as important. And it becomes really important later on because a lot of the characteristics which are displayed become a key component of Roman culture.
Of what good Romans should be, so they're dutiful, and they obey the gods.
Heroic and militaristic.
Self-sacrifice as well. Aeneas can't just hang out in Carthage with his new girlfriend. He's got to carry on even though she ends up doing the same.
Yeah, so all of these are kind of used as the things that you should be in society. They're like your idealised Roman, and then everybody else is kind of measured against those. So Aeneas is the benchmark for all future key Romans until we basically get to Augustus. And the way that history is written, he kind of replaces Aeneas as the next benchmark that everyone is kind of measured against.
Okay. When
Quite
you say
a high bar to reach, really.
I'm about to say, like, when you say everyone, do you mean like future kings, or like literally every
all
Roman?
All good Romans.
Yeah. So you're basically talking about the people that are written about.
Yeah.
So it's anyone that's in the Senate or higher, because they're not bothered about the plebs.
No, why?
They can do what they want. The other thing with the story of Aeneas, it also helps explain how various religious practices and the religious pantheon of gods comes to Italy and Rome.
Right.
So I mean, it shouldn't really be a massive spoiler to anyone that Greek gods and Roman gods are basically the same, just with different names.
Talking about that then, I was really worried I was going to say Aphrodite instead of Venus and stuff like that.
So the idea behind it is that with Aeneas' dad, particularly because he brings this little shrine with him, it's almost like the Alban or ancient gods come to Italy through Aeneas. That's how they suddenly end up there, not just they nicked it.
Did they have a state religion or equivalent before then, or
not that we know of? No.
Okay.
So it explains why the Romans are effectively worshipping Greek gods, but other things that become really important to the Romans as well. So the fact that Evander tells Aeneas the story of Hercules, so the Romans adopt Hercules from the Greek Heracles. All these things are all kind of explained through Aeneas brought them, and because he's such an awesome guy, let's keep him.
Right, okay.
It's also used, isn't it, as a way of kind of justifying not only why Rome should expand, but when the Roman Empire is at its height, it's kind of something that they can use to say, well, this is why our empire is so big, and this is why it's a good thing that our empire is so big, because we started by gathering all of these different people together and forming this kind of the start of this great civilization. So actually, you should all be happy that you're part of the Roman Empire.
You can also
because
use it
we're
to
so great.
Justify whatever you want. It's like we should go to war with Carthage. Why? It is our destiny.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other important bit with it. Dido's dramatic suicide and cursing all Romans. By the time Virgil's writing, Rome has fought Carthage in a couple of the Punic Wars for over 100 years at this point. Realistically, they were fighting over control of the Mediterranean, but it sounds so much cooler if it was destined by the gods.
Yeah.
It was due to happen. So it helps explain that animosity with Carthage and what they did to Carthage. It helps justify going and invading places because of their destiny. And it also legitimises the Julio-Claudians, as we've seen, because they are chosen by the gods to be the emperors.
Yeah, and be the next rulers of Rome. So it's really good for them because it's that direct link between Rome's history, them being in charge. It kind of fills the gap in between, doesn't it? So there's no reason why anyone can go, if you thought about it logically, well, why is it you? Where did your family come from? Why is it your family and not that family out of the Senate over there? So it's, it kind of stops that from happening, really.
And to question the Julio-Claudians now is to question the gods.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
No one wants to do that.
No.
So there you have it, our brief but somehow also rambling and lengthy summation of Aeneas and why he's important to the Romans. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been useful. Leave us a comment below, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.